New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gil.
My name is Robin.
And we're here with you today with Rockin The Love, our weekly entree into relationships.
Yes, that is an interesting way to put it. If you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're here after that, welcome back. And this is a show where we just explore the wild and wonderful, sometimes bewildering, crazy-making aspects of relationships, not only with partners, but with ourselves, with our community, with our friends, with our family, all of those good things. And today, we're stepping into a topic that I think everybody, I would venture to say probably everybody knows, and every couple knows intimately, that it's the spark, the tension, the mystery, the magic of opposites attract. Opposites attract. The dance of differences. And so we're going to explore that. Why do people fall for people who do things differently, or do we? Or when is it successful and when isn't it? And why does the contrast feel so exciting at first and occasionally really annoying later? All of those things are things that we'll be talking about when we come back from our break. But before we go there, we want to again welcome you and let us know where you're from in the chat. And of course, we have our steadfast and true person willing to say she's here, she's proud, she's Shay. Yes, Shay Davis.
Hi, Shay.
The one and only Shay Davis. We know that we have a quiet contingency out there as well. So we welcome all of you that say, oh, I saw your show last week. And we're like, we didn't see you. We know you're out there, and we're so glad you are. So thank you for being here.
I promise you, there aren't enough people watching for you to be embarrassed to admit it in the chat. I just want you to know that.
All right. So before we go on, just so you know, we are broadcasting from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where it is hot. And as I was saying to my producer earlier, there are many things that are different about living here and in a desert. But one of them is the dust. It is out of control. Like, we open our windows at night to let the cool air come in. And by cool, I mean 75. And when you wake up in the morning, there's like this layer of dust on everything. Dust, and it's just crazy. So I say all that for no particular reason at all, other than to let you know where we are and what we go through. So there you have it. Yes.
And today is a cool day, actually. It's not even 90 degrees outside. So there you go. But it hasn't felt like it got any cooler in here. So there you go.
Yes, and as most of you may know or can tell by the attire, I am a California girl. And so, I miss those ocean breezes. At this point, I miss the valley breezes, which is saying a lot. I mean, I just miss the damn breeze. So anyway, but all
Breeze
good.
this
I
year.
love New Mexico, and wow, 96 degrees in Ohio. See, that's a whole different ballgame because I'm going to guess it's 96 degrees and humid.
96 and 96% humidity.
Right.
Whereas here we're at like, I don't know, 3 or 4%.
And they're like
No, we're a
negative
little
2.
higher than that, I think. But
Well,
22% today, which is
yeah, so there's a whole different kind of thing, but all good. Grateful to be here at all. So there you have it. So how was your week? What's new in your week?
what's new in my week. I've taken some time to organize a few things. I've done some reflection on what I want to do and what's coming next, and took a little time yesterday to go to the movies and have some fun, which was nice. So it's been a variety of things, and it's been good. It's been good. Had a really rich and full day on Sunday, so and I'm grateful for all that is, all of the abundance and etc., which is showing up in my life and the life of our spiritual community. So. What
It's
about
true.
you?
Things are shifting and
Shifting and rattling and rolling and
shape shifting themselves. Yeah, no, it's been a good week. I mean, and I all that you said is true. I think it's, I think last week I talked a little bit about feeling like there was a shift, and the shift continues. I feel like there's real clarity and a different willingness to execute things and get clear on them. Like you said, you spent time arranging schedule and looking at some things, and even though we haven't gotten together to totally schedule, it feels like that's coming. And and I just want to say also, I'm deciding if I'm allowed to say or if I should ask you, but I just want to honor you for making the commitment to start a journey of writing a book.
Oh, there you go. Let's
Breathe. No, you take a breath.
Let's not put the horse in front of the cart.
That's what the class is.
The horse is supposed to go in front of
That's
the cart.
what the class is, Gil. So you can't get around it. It's not like you think
I'm
you're
taking a class about writing a book. So there you go. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, because what he really wants to do is learn how to garden. Because you want to write a book. So let's just
Why are you taking
call
the
a thing
class?
what it is, to support you.
Oh.
No, I'm taking the class to support you and to just be writing.
Well, good. I think the book will be $24.95. If you guys can just send a check, that'd be great.
All right, so we're not going to do a show about worthiness today. What we are going to do is talk about opposites attract. I was going to say opposites retract. Freudian? I don't know. Okay. So you've already got a pre-sold copy. I think we just need to hold that, because like we say in Hollywood, in the television land, in the Nielsen ratings, if one Nielsen rating represents 100 families or whatever it represents now. So if Shay says yes, that means there's 100 more people out there that are getting their checkbooks out right this minute to support you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Sight unseen, title unknown. That's pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive. So that's good news, but we're going to segue that right into the next piece of good news, which is what we like to do here, is talk about all the good things going on in the world amidst what may appear to be chaotic. We find lots of good things to talk about. So tell me what you have.
Well, I have a bit of a conundrum today, and that is because, I had two parents who were very drug averse, actually, and very clear that psychedelic drugs were extremely dangerous and we should never get near them. And I admittedly have adopted that most of my life. I also lost both of my parents to Alzheimer's. So this good news story is fascinating to me because it's all about a woman who has been, was in to the point in her life where she had been for the last several years, basically speaking in single syllables, incontinent all the time, unable to walk and get around, etc. Generally didn't recognize people who came to see her, etc. And they gave her, I think it's 5 milligrams, 5 micrograms, whatever it is, the dosage of psilocybin mushrooms. And they observed her during what we classically called her trip. She had sweats, she slept, she moved around in her sleep, she then slept for like 19 hours. And she woke up and she talked for 4 hours straight, telling people all kinds of things and totally understandable, etc. In addition to that, over the next few days and weeks, she became continent even through the night. She was able to recognize people. She began walking again. All kinds of things happened to her. At some point down the road, they gave her an additional 3 grams or whatever it is of the psilocybin, or however you pronounce that. Psilocybin. And she continues to improve. And they're theorizing that in part, I mean, at least what this indicates, and it's obviously it's a single person, so it's a what do they call that? Anyway, it's a ad hoc kind of thing. You're only seeing one person, but what they're theorizing is that it indicates that all of that information that we think is lost, often through Alzheimer's, we think it's gone, is still there. And so it's a matter of allowing the brain to shift enough and to go into its plasticity to relocate it and re-access it.
Mm.
So anyway, what's fascinating about it is the dramatic amount of the effect. I mean, that's the crazy part. By days 6 and 7, she would maintain reciprocal eye contact, smile, laugh, and remember things on a short-term basis. 1 month, her functionality improved compared with baseline. After the second session, she had greater verbal expressivity, improved facial mimicry, spontaneous humor, all these things.
Yeah.
Just like it was like she was reignited.
Well, I find this is really interesting, and as you're saying this, it makes me think that we should have one of our good friends on the show, Chantal Rolfing, who is actually now licensed to do the psilocybin, and it's had all kinds of effects on PTSD and soldiers coming back from war, and like trauma and stress, and I think that would be fascinating. I mean, but that's amazing.
Yeah, it was done like in San Pablo, Peru, I guess that is.
Everything's like in the UK or
country.
I
mean, it wouldn't happen here because
Well, probably the funding's been cut here.
But
Anyway, but enough about us. Yeah, but I think that's just fascinating. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and apparently she's a Japanese American who went there to get the treatment. So,
yeah. And I can only imagine also, that kind of thing. If you start it earlier, than waiting for you not to be president, incontinent, and all of those things.
Right. And well, that's the fascinating part. Like if you can actually somehow get your brain to move into that place again, I don't know if it's because it shakes it up so much that, like, it's able to get jolted out of its stuckness wherever it is. It's who knows.
Well, that's kind of my understanding of it, and you know me, I don't retain the technical thing, but it clears those passages and kind of reignites neural networks of blah blah blah.
Right, and they've done further studies with animals and et cetera, where they're observing similar kinds of things to this, and observing them able to recreate neural pathways, et cetera. So
That's
anyway,
fantastic. Well, speaking of animals, let me go to my story. Last week I told you I had 2 stories, and I didn't want to not do what I told you about. So this story is about an otter named Splash. And Splash is the country's first search and recovery otter. And he can find missing people or objects or whatever underwater. And so, obviously there's all kinds of support animals that have been trained for disasters and crime and all of that, and dogs and horses and all of those kind of things. But the one thing they couldn't do was work underwater. And so a man named Michael Hadsell, who was the president of Florida-based Peace River Canine Search and Rescue, turned to river otters, and he thought, why not? Why not try it? And so Splash is a 2-year-old small clawed Asian small clawed otter who's been trained to assist in search and recovery missions. And he's the man, Mr. Hasdell, has been in this business for over 46 years and worked with all kinds of animals and drones and all of that. And he just thought they really needed to improve underwater missions. And so he decided to try it. So he did. And he started with working with Splash in the pool and training him that way. And what he found was that otters are really incredibly intelligent and have a super strong sense of sensory organs that they can sniff out human remains. And Splash is mostly trained for recovery, not necessarily rescue, but it's bringing closure to a lot of people that have either lost loved ones or something like that. And places where human remains have never been recovered, like in lakes and rivers and things like that. He can hold his breath for 5 minutes, and he goes down, and when he finds something, he starts blowing bubbles or comes back up, and he either alerts the people that are diving with him, or he comes up and starts grabbing the mask of Paul Hasdell to tell him that he's got something and that he's not going to let him get away until he starts moving forward. So he wears a custom harness that's attached to Hasdell under the water. And then once he spots or a scent or a target, he lays on top of it so humans can mark where it is, and it's precise. And when he's successful, he gets a piece of farm-raised salmon. So far, he's been successful in the field, and after 4 months of training, he was able to help recover a weapon that was used in a 25-year-old murder case. And he was also able to locate human DNA on a clay brick at the bottom of the lake, bringing closure to the family that was like a murder victim. And so it's just fascinating. He's been called out on over at least 20 other rescue missions, and they're working it through, and he's not allowed to go any deeper than 30 feet. And if the currents are too strong, he stays back. But just that they have the ability to do that, and is kind of amazing.
Well, and it's fascinating too. I mean, looking at him, and he holds his breath and he goes underwater, but he's finding things by scent, and I'm now very perplexed by that concept.
Well, yeah, and they say that otters are really sensitive, to their predators and to illness, and that like through the protective oils that on his body he can sense those kind of things.
Okay, so he has other ways of sensing it.
Yeah, and also that's why people dive with him, because they watch out for alligators or any other kind of predators that are around, and they can take care of him when there's that kind of danger.
Because he's focused on what he's doing instead
Right.
of focusing on what he should be as an otter.
Right, and
Yeah.
it does say that, excuse me, even though his protective oils keep him protected in murky waters, every now and then he needs a bath with Dawn Dish to take the oils back out of balance, put them back in balance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's a member of the canine rescue team, and
And he's not even a canine.
he's not a
And
canine.
he's a cute little sucker.
Yeah, so it's just cool. And then those kind of stories, it just, once again, I mean, like, it just speaks to the oneness again, right? Like that you could take and train, and there's a picture in the article of him asleep on the guy's lap. He's an otter. It's like, when would you ever think of that? Yeah.
There he is.
That's him there. But even further down, there's a picture with him just laying in the lap. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, there he is in the grass.
Keep going. He looks like a badger there.
Yeah.
There. Look, he's all asleep. Look at, he's got like a doggy crate, and see that, who just makes you want to snuggle up to an otter, right?
Well, and I think the other thing is, of course, we train him to do what we want him to do, but the reality is what all animals are capable of and are already doing on their own that we don't understand is probably far more reaching than what we are able to train them to do, because we can only think of things we want them to do.
Well, and pivoting from that, I would say, for me, that is part of the whole point of the movie we saw yesterday. We saw Disclosure, for those of you out there. But
yes.
My assessment is that that's just my assessment. I mean, I don't want to go deeper into that. I don't want to be the spoiler for anybody, but to me, when we stop and we look and we listen and we connect, whether it's with ourselves or with things out there, what are the possibilities?
Yeah.
Yes. Listen. And so we leave you with that. Listen to the upcoming commercials and announcements, and we will be right back here to talk about Opposites Attract. So don't go away. Stay right here on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you.
The Heal Your Life Workshop Leader and Life Coach Certification Training, approved personally by Louise Hay, is coming to San Diego. Facilitated by expert trainers Anna Milkick and Christy Dixon. This 3-month training includes multiple sessions on Zoom and 10 days in beautiful San Diego. It will change your life and enable you to help others transform their lives.
Hello, we're back at Rockin The Love. I'm Robin.
And I'm Gil, and I like to eat on screen, and Robin does not. That is one way we're opposite.
Okay, so there you go. Jumping right into our topic today of opposites attract. All right, so you're joining us. That's what we're going to be talking about, opposites attract, and the dance of differences, and just really, why do we fall for people that do things completely differently than we do, or not even fall for them? Why are we attracted to them? Or what is that about? Or are you? And, we're going to...
Well, yeah, what makes things that are very different from ourselves attractive to us, which is, people, a new job, anything like that, where we go, oh, that's great. That's nothing like, the way I do it, or the way I've done it, or the way, and I think we get attracted to those things on a regular basis because they trigger something in us that feels more alive. To me, feels more alive because we're seeing something new and different.
Right. So we're starting out with chemistry, basically. Right? I mean, the chemistry of contrast. Why does it feel exciting at first, or does it, or what is it? Let's start here. Let's start with us, because we're here.
What about physics? Are we going to start with physics?
You could go to physics. I said us.
Okay.
So, I mean, what is it, without being totally explicit, what is it that attracted you to me? Was it similar qualities or opposites, or both? Because I would say, well, I'll let you say first, because I was asking a question. Now, why would I answer it? I asked.
It is an interesting concept, however. I've seen it happen. Well, that's really interesting. I think, I don't know how many of them are really that contrastual, contrasting on the one hand. And on the other hand, I think, I was very attracted to you because you were out forthcoming and very smart. So apparently that was a contrast. Had insight, intuition, you trusted it. those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I'm thinking, as I think about it, like, I don't even know if it's so much opposite in the beginning as it is that journey of exploration, right?
Mm.
So, I think why does it feel exciting? I think it feels exciting because there's that level where we don't know each other, or where we don't know about the new job, or we're uncertain. And it goes back to talking about perceiving. What do we perceive, or what's our expectation? So we have a vision of how a relationship or a job or a situation should look, right?
Yeah. Well, based on the past, based on experience, well, the thing that's coming to me, actually, this may sound very silly, but you get in a car and you have a road trip plan to go somewhere, and particularly somewhere you haven't been before, and it seems to take a very long time to get there. It's a 3-hour trip, but it feels much longer. And when you come home, that same 3-hour trip feels much shorter.
Mm.
And it's something to do with the unexpected, the lack of familiarity, the whatever it is, because it's the same basic trip in reverse. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and now you know more.
Right. Now I go, oh yeah, I remember that gas station or that exit or that whatever.
Yeah, and it wasn't that far from home, so we're almost there.
Right. But I mean, that's kind of a common thing that we experience in our lives, where something like that happens, and on the initial stages of it, you're gathering so much information that even time feels like it's expanded. And then as it becomes more familiar, time seems to sort of come back in. I wonder if that happens in relationships. In our relationship, the more familiar we become with one another, the more it feels like time is compressed. Like there's that place where it's like, wow, we can spend 3 hours on the phone, and that's incredible, and that's great. And then a little later on, it's like, wow, we do not have 3 hours to spend on the phone.
Well, that's an interesting question and thought. I mean, and I think that
I'm not sure how that fits in this topic, but it has something to do with it.
No, but it does have something to do with it. But I think that goes more to perception and things. I want to ask though, because I think I know the answer, but what's the first opposite you really noticed about us?
You
See if we get this question right on the newlywed.
You don't care. And by that, I mean, you don't need to know how or what.
Mm-hmm. Well, my answer is similar, but it's different. My first thing where I think we really heard the opposite was very early on, when I said, well, there is no right and wrong.
Right.
And you were like, what? What the heck is she talking about? But I mean, and so in that moment, what did that difference feel like? Was it exciting? Was it confusing? Was it both?
It was a little intriguing and a little like, wait a minute, how does this work?
Right. And so there's that curiosity point, that's somewhat exciting, and that we want to, it's different. Again, it's like I said to you about Sunday, about church. It's like when there's that moment that wakes some people up, when it's out of the norm, it takes us out of our normal pattern. We're not, all of a sudden, we can't just go, mm-hmm. We go, wait, what?
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, oh, it's like when you see your dog, you're like, what? Head tilted. It's that curiosity. And so, yeah. And then as the relationship goes on, because I was thinking when we talked about this topic, Okay, let me go backwards. The opposites attract, in a lot of the research I've done, and I probably what you've done too, tell me if you found something different, but what I find the research is leading to is that on some level, opposites attracting are not really what makes opposites work in a relationship. I mean,
Right. There's sort of, there's a couple veins of thought, but one of them is that while opposites may attract, they don't set relationships up for success in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, there's this thing about how when you are in a relationship or in a new place, in a new job, and wherever where things are different, where now there's reciprocal things going on with exchanging understanding and information that is unfamiliar to the other, but that causes you to have to expand. Like I have to go, oh, I never thought of it that way. And then thinking of that way allows me to understand something differently that I haven't understood before. Right?
Mm-hmm. And
so that's where it plays into, if you will, successful relationships, in that, if people aren't too far off the scales, they can actually support one another in expanding.
Yeah.
Because you become more compassionate and understanding of a different opinion, a different perspective, and also you begin to understand your own perspectives differently, and perhaps even shift some of your own biases because of that understanding.
Right. And so I think, it takes a big, I don't know, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say commitment or willingness to be that space of open. Like I often wonder how, people of different political affiliations really have successful marriages, when it gets down to the nuts and bolts of, what each side believes. And I think that, that's a big, I did date someone once, and I'm still friends with them, that we were totally opposites. And he's amazing. And he's also very Republican, very gun-toting, very,
potentially racist.
Potentially, and yet, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say. And the fact that his relationships were primarily with people of other races as well. So I know, but
that's not how you describe other things. And I think that's another thing that's interesting, is how hard it is to try to put together in our heads someone with some opinions and some things that don't mesh with our own. Like, we have to figure out how to allow it to be okay. I think that's part of the thing.
So when we come in, and we've all had people like that in our life that we love, even though we can't agree with them or whatever. We have family members, right, like that, Thanksgiving dinner comes and you're like, oh God, please don't let Uncle Bob talk about whatever. And so what part of you do you think is awakened by those differences, or why do you think those differences show up? Or do they awaken something?
Well, they're all opportunities to re-look at things. they're all opportunities to consider different understandings, to consider different ways of handling situations, to consider different ways of approaching things. You know, I'm trying to think. You know, I'm thinking about being in a room and being the difference between introvert and extrovert, and talking to people and talking with a group, and you're off trying to find someone to talk to if you're going to sit down and talk. Don't want to be with all the people.
I'm okay not to talk.
Yeah, you're okay not to talk. You're somewhere else, but that's a different way of handling the same situation, if you will, in life. And it's understanding that both are legitimate and both can work. And so the opportunity for each of us is to understand the other a little more, to see the value in the other a little more. Right?
Yeah, and I think also, going back to our relationship, I'll say some of the things that we may have thought were opposites then became similarities. Like I'll say, in the beginning, a part of the reason I was drawn to you was maybe I'm just off kilter, but there was the illusion that you had your life together at some level. I know that sounds funny because your life was falling apart, but you were still a grown-up who had a house, who had a family, who had kids, who had cars, had savings, had things, had credit, had all of those things. That was very attractive. No, it was very attractive, but not because I didn't have resources. I mean, not because I needed that, but mine weren't in order, like that. I didn't have a house. I didn't have, I hadn't invested. I hadn't whatever. So like the thought was, that was a skill, and it is a skill on some level that you have that I don't particularly have in the same way, of keeping track of finances or things like that.
It's true.
Yeah, things. So there are those things that I think, we go into, and by the same token, that was where some of our stress came in the beginning, was having those conversations about money, because when we didn't have it, or you didn't have it, or you didn't have a job, or I didn't have a job, you were like, okay, now what, in that linear way. And I was like, it's an abundant universe, something will come. It'll be okay. We don't have to worry, that kind of thing, which was very opposite at the time.
Yeah, that's true. Much more opposite than it is now.
And I think that's one way that I think that's one way that it helped us grow.
And I want to comment on Shay's comment. Robin, you're talking about a mature adult, rare, and I'm not sure who she's talking about. That's the mature adult there. So I just want to clarify that. There were some things that appeared together, and in the midst of that, my entire life was falling apart. So it is interesting, even within ourselves, how we are this pieces of opposites, if you will. There's the aspect of my life where I owned a home and had cars and had things together. And then there was a part of my life that was completely falling apart.
Right, but we're not talking about that. I mean, yes.
Let's not talk about that.
No, but I mean, we all have that. We're talking about why we were attracted.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, I knew about that, and that was another part of it. And
you didn't know about it all right away, but yes, you did know about it
pretty quick. If you recall my counseling, pretty quick.
Quick.
But, so Yeah. So I think a lot of our opposites became similarities, and I think. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was attracted to you because I found you to be very independent and self-sufficient and uncontrolling, non-controlling. Some of those things, I don't know how opposite they were from me, but they were opposite from some of my experience.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's a whole different topic. I mean, that brings up that, because when you say opposites attract, like, are you trying to attract the opposite of your former partner? No, really, or the opposite of your parent, or the opposite of whatever
Right.
that is.
Right. What opposite are we really talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so, gosh, I can't believe we're almost out of time. Because, yeah, so it's an interesting thing. To sum it up, I think that, like, I think it's all an illusion. That's what I think. I do, because I think sometimes the opposites become the similarities, and it feels opposite only because it's that stage of not knowing someone, and then you get to know them, and so what attracted may seem opposite, but then it kind of blends in and it mellows out. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and there's always the, you never know what towel's yours or where it's hanging or why it's there or why you should have a towel or whatever else in the bathroom. And I like to hang mine up somewhere and know that that's my towel so that it'll dry before next time I go to use it. And that's very endearing for the first 3 or 4 years. And then it becomes very annoying that you still don't care where the towel is or know what the towel is or know what color you had last or what. I mean, and part of that is I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. How can somebody not know these things? How, and so for me, that's a very opposite kind of way of living. And that's what I meant by not knowing. When there's a question going on and I say, well, what about this? And you say, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, but that's part of what we're talking about. It doesn't matter.
Well, you answered my question, because I was going to ask you what's the opposite that drives you crazy now, that, in not such a cute way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And unless I'm less prone to be stuck in the other direction than I was, for sure.
Yes, you are. But see, to me, so you're saying you don't understand, but to me, like, I don't understand when you pull out suitcases, they all look the same, folks. They're 4 black suitcases, 1 larger, or 2 larger and 2 smaller. When he's like, that's your suitcase. I'm like,
Because I put the tag on it that says your name on it if it gets lost. And it has your special tag that's your tag that's on it. So that when it comes off the thing, you can see that it's yours.
And to me,
That
I go,
why they are different.
okay, but to me, I go, if we lose a piece of luggage, we lose a piece of luggage. It doesn't matter if it's yours or mine. If it's in that suitcase, we'll know that that's what's
But
gone.
when we get to the hotel and you have 2 suitcases that are the same, I know which one to open and find my stuff in and not have to, oh, that's not it. Let me put it over here. Let me get the other one over here. I can organize it. See, and to me, that makes total sense.
No sense of adventure. Why not?
Sense of adventure,
Open a
sense
suitcase.
of doing less work. I don't want to have to redo and redo and redo.
All right. And there it is, folks. What drives us crazy now? It's not so cute. And there's more. He's getting off very easy today because I'm not talking about stuff. But I mean, I do think, the other question of this is like, so what do we believe about all this, right?
Mm.
What is if we're calling in the opposite, is it actually a spiritual teacher for us? Is it coming to teach us something? and how do we look at it like that? And
Well, we know everything's coming to teach us something, right? In reality, it's all here to teach us something. And so perhaps that's part of the being older and now at this point is that that's how I see life. So that's different than it was 25 years ago when I didn't see it that way. Exactly. So it was much more annoying potentially. But everything's here to teach something. Some part of it is patience. Part of it is to understand truly that we all are individuals who are different, and that as much as I sometimes think you act like you know nothing, you're one of the smartest people I know. And that's part of why it drives me even crazier sometimes.
well, that's a whole different show, because that's about why doesn't she get it? Why doesn't she get it? Why doesn't she understand all that I know? And that's a whole different show, I think. But I think
It seems to me like it's not all that much, so I don't understand. All what that I know? I don't know that much.
well, and I think we've all there are, regardless of how it sounds, there are things that we've both, I'm gonna say, have learned to do differently because we know how it affects our partner, and so just because you've always done one thing one way, and Gil used to say to me all the time, like, well, that's not the way you do it. And I was like, according to who? I didn't grow up in your house. Nobody taught me that way. Like every time, okay, here, I'll give you one of my annoying things. Every time I go to the sink, I think about my mom, because my mom used to say with the dishes, when we just throw the dishes in there, she'd go, really? Would it take that much more to rinse it off now while the food's on it, as opposed to in an hour, in a day, when the food is hardened and is crusty and blah, blah, blah? Every time I go to the dishes and the plates are there full of food, I think about my mom, and I'm like, it's okay. It's just not the way he does it.
But how often do you find it that way, really? In your opinion, it's all the time?
And that's going to wrap up our show for today, everybody.
Because that would be an incredibly inaccurate perception of that.
Okay, just take notice. I just challenge you, when you go to the sink now and you put your dishes in, take notice of if you want to walk away. If you would generally just set them down and walk away, because I think it's a little more unconscious than you know. It's not horrible. I'm not saying it's a deal breaker or that he piles his dishes up and there's food all over. I'm not saying that. And we equally clean dishes, put them in the dishwasher, all of those kind of things. I'm not saying that. However, I am saying just take notice, because your tendency is to just put them in there, and I don't really care that much. It just makes me think of my mom, and I'm like, she was so right, because this is so hard to scrub this stuff off. So, homage to my mom. But I always think I'm going to say to you, my mom would have loved you except for this thing. She wouldn't have understood this. Anyway, so yeah, I think that the challenge becomes, how can we, let those differences be our greatest teachers, and how do we learn from those opposites? How have we learned to dance instead of to fight? How do we maneuver around them? And can you find that space where you take a breath and really just realize?
So can we dance with the differences rather than try to change it?
That's right. Can we dance with the differences? As our show said, opposites attract, the dance of differences. So if you've recognized yourself in any of this, or your partner, or past relationships in this conversation, you're not alone. You're human. Differences is a part of the rhythm of love and life, and it challenges all of us. And
however, if you're like Shay and you had a laughing attack in the middle of this, then I'm happy we could be supportive of you and give you that for this day.
Well, and not quoting exactly, but paraphrasing what Shay has said before, those are some of her favorite moments when we get real. When we get real about us.
She says, I laughed so hard I snorted.
Oh, God bless you. You know, you're welcome to come stay any time at our house and see if it's still that funny.
Yeah, I would suggest a shorter term stay though, probably because you'll get worn out pretty quick.
And make sure you rinse your dishes.
That's right.
Anyway, so that's it. It's about learning to move together, learning to be in sync and honest connection. And that, you know, that's
Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk. Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Unity of Garden Park. New Thought Philadelphia. The Sunshine Cathedral. Unity of Savannah. And the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.